What is consumer theory? Consumer theory is the study of how people decide how to spend their money based on what they want and how much money they have. Consumer theory is a part of microeconomics that looks at how people decide what to buy based on how much money they have and how much things cost. Understanding how consumers act makes it easier for sellers to predict which of their goods will sell the most and helps economists get a better handle on the invisible hand or the unseen forces that shape the economy. Understanding consumer theory. People are free to pick from different packages of things and services. Consumer theory tries to predict what people will buy by making three basic assumptions about how people act. Utility maximization. When buying, people are said to make smart choices and buy the things that give them the most benefit, or what economists call a maximum utility. Non-satiation. People rarely get what they want from one trip to the store, and they always want to buy more. Decreasing marginal utility. Consumers lose satisfaction with a product the more they consume it. Consumer theory usually needs the following to work through examples and/or cases. A full set of consumption options. How much use a customer gets out of each bundle in a set of options. A list of prices for each package. Advantages of consumer theory. It's important to learn more about people's likes and incomes because they have a big effect on the demand curve, which shows how the price of a good or service affects how much of it people want at a given time, and on the shape of the economy as a whole. A big part of the United States gross domestic product, GDP, comes from what people pay. If people buy less, demand for goods and services will go down. This will hurt company income, the job market, investments, and many other things that keep the economy going. Example of consumer theory. Let's look at a specific case. Kyle is a customer with a budget of $200. He has to choose between pizza and video games, the bundle of goods, to spend his money on. Kyle could buy 20 pizzas, 4 video games, or 5 pizzas and 3 video games if a pizza costs $10 and a video game costs $50. He could also keep the whole $200 in his pocket. How can someone from the outside guess how Kyle will probably spend his money? This question can be answered with the help of consumer theory. Limitations of consumer theory. There are many obstacles to making a workable formula for this case. For example, behavioral economics shows that people aren't always logical and are sometimes just not interested in the choices they have. Some decisions are especially hard to make because people don't know much about the goods. There could also be a part of the decision-making process that has to do with feelings that can't be caught by an economic function. Consumer theory has been criticized because it makes a lot of assumptions. In an ideal world, its points may be true, but in the real world, there are many factors that can show a flawed way to simplify spending habits. Going back to Kyle, it's not as easy as it might seem at first to figure out how he will spend his $200. Economics assumes that he knows what he likes and can decide how much pizza and video games he wants to buy. It also assumes that Kyle has enough computer games and pizzas to do what he wants. Of course, none of these could be right, even though they usually are. What does consumer theory tell us? Consumer theory looks at people's budgets and personal tastes to try to figure out how they will spend their money. Its flaw is that it thinks people will always make smart decisions. Why is consumer theory important? Since consumer spending drives the U.S. economy, knowing how people might spend their hard-earned money helps businesses figure out where to put their resources. What is the demand curve? The demand curve looks at how the price of a good or service relates to how much is needed to meet customer needs over a certain amount of time. It helps figure out how the business will be. Economists think they can figure out how people will spend their money. This is called consumer theory, and it's important because the way people spend their money affects company profits and, in turn, the whole economy. Consumer theory says that if you give someone X amount of money and a list of tastes, that person will spend that money in a certain way. That means, of course, making a lot of guesses. Consumer theory is based on the idea that people are all logical and pretty much the same. Its predictions are usually pretty accurate, but you can't always count on them.